Hey guys, biracial Tiffany here. Today I'm gonna vlog about some questions people asked me in my messaging inbox. But first, I just wanted to say that I usually don't wear yellow, and I put this yellow shirt on and then I turned the camera on and I was like, it kind of blends into my skin, which is just kind of funny because, you know, people might call me yellow. So anyway, just an observation. And I also wanted to say hey to Alexei, Kate, and Caddy, Easton Girl UK. I think it's really amazing, Alexei, that you are interested in learning about, you know, what it's like to be biracial because of your fiance. So that's really sweet, and I'm glad you guys are watching. So the first thing I'm going to tackle is a question that was posed to me by, I'll just call you Queen because there's a lot of numbers and I didn't write them down, I'm sorry. And she asked me if I think that mulattoes should marry each other and have mulatto families. And this is, someone else has asked me sort of a similar question, like what do I think of people whose parents are mixed but they sort of consider themselves black. So anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself, I guess. It's interesting to me because I personally feel like I can't really recreate another version of myself. Like, I feel like it's sort of like a one-generational thing, and I know that a lot of people do not agree, so I'm just saying that that's what I think. I think if you're talking about two biracial people marrying, having children, it really depends on, like, do those people, the biracial people, do they identify as biracial? Do they identify as black? Do they identify as white, perhaps? And so I think the only example that we have sort of in mainstream society that I think everyone could sort of, you know, have an idea of what I'm talking about is Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet have Zoe Kravitz. And if Lenny Kravitz, from what I've read, he really identifies as black and thinks, I don't think he thinks much of the biracial identity. So I don't know what Lisa Bonet thinks about it, but if the two biracial people identify as black, I don't think there's much chance for their equally mixed child to form the same kind of identity that someone like me would, because I grew up with a white parent and a black parent who identified as white and black. So if I had two parents who were biracial but identified as black, it would be harder for me to come to some sort of all-encompassing biracial identity, even though I would be 50% and 50%, or, you know, whatever. We can never know the percents, right? So that's kind of what I think about that, and it is sort of, it has made me sad at times to think, you know, I can't really produce a child like me. It's gonna go some other kind of way. Although I suppose that's really not true, but that is how I have thought of it. And you also said that, and I completely agree with you, that there's a pattern of biracial men dating white women and biracial women dating black men. Mostly generalization here, I'm not saying everyone. And I would have to say that I've only had long-term relationships with white men, but I think that this pattern exists because most interracial couples are made of a white woman and a black man, and I do think that it's just like the natural thing to sort of gravitate towards someone like your mother or father. So most biracial people, biracial men, most of them have a white mom, so they're with white women, and most biracial women have black dads, so they would perhaps gravitate toward black men. So I guess I recognize the pattern, and that would be why I think the pattern exists, and I definitely validate that that is a pattern. And you also asked, does mixing with non-biracial people weaken the biracial identity? And I guess, I don't know. I guess it goes back to me thinking that really the biracial identity comes from the first generation mixed child like me. And any going, you know, in the direction of whiteness or blackness or adding another culture into the mix certainly does, you know, we could say it dilutes the biracial identity, but maybe we could also say it turns it into a more multicultural identity. It adds something new to the mix. So I really think I kind of expect that only people with one white parent and one black parent would really identify the way that I do. And I am really trying to not expect anyone to identify in any way, because people have expected me to identify as black, and that's not right. So, like, I really can't expect someone like Obama to identify as equally both, more than one or the other, you know? That's his choice. And I think he's a good man anyway. So, and now I just wanted to tie a little history into this. I believe I showed you this book before when I did the vlog from the car, and I haven't finished it. It's a lot of facts, and it's a fantastic book, but they give examples of two families in the South in the 1700s, and the first family is the Metoyers of Louisiana, who, I'm going to have to read this out of the book, who successfully rejected identification with any established racial order and achieved recognition as a distinct racial ethnic group. They carefully arranged marriages as to preserve the clan's intermediate position, and the clan came to include some 400 people by 1860. So they rejected marrying blacks or whites, and they wanted these were like part of the mulatto elite, I should say, and some were slave owners. The first ones that generated wealth bought their relatives out of slavery, sort of, well, because that would be the right thing to do, right? But also so that they could add people to the clan and the wealth, and they really were quite successful. So this was like from the 1700s to the last fact I have is that it was 400 people by 1860. On the other hand, we have the Gibsons of South Carolina who married whites and sort of wanted to just disappear into whiteness. And there were some other facts about them, but really that's kind of the point and how it relates to today's discussion. So I really enjoy talking about this, and I really, really love getting questions like this. And I think there's like a list of 3 other questions, and they will be 3 other vlogs from other people's messages in my inbox, so please don't think that I am ignoring you. I'm really looking forward to making the videos. I look forward to the questions, and I really appreciate people taking the time and the energy to pose the questions and to watch these videos. I really, really appreciate it. One other thing I just wanted to add at the end of this video is, you know, just sort of talking about who we marry and what's the percentage and blah, blah, blah. I just notice, like, as far as medical issues are concerned, if there is no other reason to study the biracial experience in America, like, shouldn't I at least have some sort of reference as to, like, what might ail me or something? Because if I just keep believing that I'm black, I'm black, I'm black, I'm going to look at a list of things that affect African Americans and think, well, I better watch out for this. But there's a 50% chance that the list of things that Caucasians, excuse me, are prone to could affect me too. And I would certainly hope that I'd have a doctor that would understand that just because he is gonna, or she is gonna perhaps assume that I'm black, that the other stuff really is worth noting and exploring. So I would just really, if people can't grasp that maybe we're culturally both, like, at least, you know, help me out with, like, medical history and staying alive, I guess. That's something I have, like, that is one of my biggest issues with this whole thing, and I cannot believe I didn't bring that up till today, but I didn't. So that's all. Food for thought. Thanks for watching.